What does it mean for, let's say, the United States, which, yes, has deep stockpiles, but if it's using a $2 million interceptor to stop a $20,000 drone, at some point, the economics of this become quite significant.
Absolutely. I mean, in some sense, with with $1 trillion defense budget, you can do that kind of economics, but it's certainly not efficient. And I think that the issue becomes, really the sustainability. So if you do this, once, twice, maybe even a dozen times, you have to rely on a more expensive interception method. You can absorb potentially that cost, but the Iranians have potentially tens of thousands of these Shahed drones. And so the economics at that kind of scale are simply just not sustainable.
Let's talk about the Shahed drones. I mean, they've been so popular that Russia bought them for their own war from the Iranians against Ukraine. What is it that makes Shahed so effective?
Yeah, they not only bought them, but they now make them actually in Russia as well and have improved them. So I think what is so attractive about this weapon is two things. One is that it has significant range, so it can travel hundreds of miles, which makes it quite attractive. That's that ability to strike at a distance. And then the second part of it is that it is, as you said, very cheap. And it flies low to the ground. It's slow. An individual one isn't that hard to necessarily shoot down. But when you're able to send things at scale that way, you can really overwhelm a defender. And so the economics just work really well for the attacker here.
How are we to know how many of those drones Iran has used and still has left?
Yes, so in open source, even before the war, it was really hard to estimate what the size of Iran's stockpile might be. Part of the reason that this is really hard to evaluate is, unlike ballistic missiles, which are made in a limited number of facilities, and these facilities tend to be quite large because the missiles themselves are quite large, you're able to really disperse production capacity for these kind of Shahed drones. And they're not all that hard to make. Someone could even assemble one in a garage, for example. So this is one of the real challenges with this kind of system, is that it's dispersed, it's easy to make, it relies on a lot of dual use components, that it is very challenging for your battle damage assessment, as the military likes to say, to really know how much progress you're making against these. I think what we're gonna have to rely on is more behavioral indicators if we see a real drop in Iran's ability to send volleys up of these Shahed drones each day.
Yeah, and I can tell you from here in Israel that we continue to see Iranian missiles, being fired here multiple times every day. I want to talk to you about a different missile system. It's called Blue Sparrow. It's run by the Israelis, and it is the missile that killed Iran's supreme leader. What do you know about it?
Yes, so we don't know a tremendous amount because it hasn't been used all that often in combat. But what we do know is, essentially, the simplest way of saying it is, it's a long-range, air-launched ballistic missile. And so it travels high up, very high up towards the atmosphere, might even cross over it. And when it comes back down, just from sheer velocity, it's coming down really, really fast, and it makes it very hard for a defender to be able to take action. So it has about a payload of about, we think about around 1,000 pounds, but that is quite hard to intercept. And because it's traveling so fast, it has an even greater impact.
Kelly, I've only got a moment left with you, but I want to ask you the question that I think is on a lot of people's minds, but seems next to impossible to answer. When will this end?
I wish I knew that. I think the problem right now is that neither side, in some sense, probably sees it as favorable to end at this moment, because both are probably concerned that it would create an appearance of weakness. That the Iranians, for them, that they're on their knees and need to settle because the regime is badly damaged, and for the United States and Israel, that they need to stop because they are not willing to tolerate the cost of this conflict, and so that creates a very dangerous dynamic.